4th, July 1st. I'm sorry. The wish being the father of the thought. It's good to be with all of you as the legislative session was closed last evening by the Delaware State Senate. We have a really important piece of legislation that passed the House and the Senate recently and is here in my desk for signature. It's a really critically important bill for the upcoming elections of this fall, particularly given the situation we have here in Delaware and across our country with the COVID-19 pandemic. With me this morning is the President Pro Tem of the Senate, Senator Dave McBride, and the prime sponsor, the majority leader in the House, Representative Val Longhurst. And I'm going to turn it over to Representative Val Longhurst, who is the main sponsor of House Bill number 346, as amended by House Amendment number 5. To both of you, Representative Longhurst and Senator McBride, thanks for being here this morning, and thanks for your leadership on this very important election piece of legislation.
Thank you, Governor. I truly appreciate you taking time out of your day to sign House Bill 346 in front of our fellow Delawareans. I just want to begin by saying voting is a right and it's not a privilege, and we should never have to choose between our health or the right to vote. And House Bill 346 is a bill that will help us in Delaware all Delawareans to stay safe and have a safe and a good way to vote. So House Bill 346 is a no excuse absentee ballot, which would allow our voters in Delaware in the upcoming primary and general election to apply or to receive an application in the mail and decide whether they would like to do an absentee no excuse ballot. It's completely an option for them, and it's just an opportunity for us to say, let's make sure that everybody's safe in the upcoming election with this pandemic that's going on. So I'm proud to be a sponsor of the bill, and I'm very proud to be a prime with Senator Dave McBride, who's been a champion and ran it in the Senate pretty easily with a lot of questions, but he did a wonderful job in the Senate. And I want to thank my colleagues, both in the House and the Senate, for being a part of this great piece of legislation to make sure that all Delawareans will be safe in the upcoming election and have the right to vote. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative Longhurst, for your leadership on this legislation. As you say, really critically important for the elections this fall, both the primary and the general election. Not a lot different than the no absentee system that we've been operating under with respect to local elections and with respect to the presidential primary coming up. Just a critical piece of legislation. Senator McBride, a late night last night. It's good to be with you this morning.
It was.
Thank you for your leadership in the Senate and for the good evening last night on June the 30th.
Well, Governor, thank you very much for joining the Senate last evening. It was very nice that you could stop by in a Zoom format to say goodbye to three very, very wonderful people. David Burris, the Chief of Staff for the Republican Senators, Joy Bauer, our Secretary of the Senate, and then, of course, Harris McDowell, the Senator, served 44 years. So thank you so much for taking time out. And Governor and Representative Longhurst, I want to thank both of you for the leadership you've shown on such an important issue. Ironically, my wife and I were out in the district this morning, just meeting constituents, talking to people, and I had a gentleman ask me. He said, "What's happening with the vote by mail?" I said, "Well, to be honest with you, I'm getting ready to go back home. I got to be on a Zoom with the governor. He's going to sign the bill this morning." And the gentleman was very happy because, as he noted, his health obviously comes before anything else. And he was very appreciative that you, Representative Longhurst, and others have taken the initiative to be able to get this into law. So obviously, those who wish to vote in person, are still welcome to do so. I've heard sometimes people are concerned they can't go out and vote at a location, but this is another opportunity, another mechanism for them that they will be able to vote. And it just guarantees that no one will choose between risking their health and participating in a fair, open, and secure election. And I believe, and I know others do, this is a great day for democracy in the state of Delaware. And with that, Governor, I'll turn it back to you. And again, thank you so very much.
Thank you, Senator McBride. I thank you for your leadership in the Senate and getting the bill through, and for your colleagues in the Senate for their approval as well. For the last, gosh, it seems like 4 years, 4 months, Delawareans have made huge sacrifices to protect the health and welfare of one another, of their neighbors. They've treated each Delawarean as their neighbor by following the restrictions that were put in place by the COVID-19 pandemic. And we've made great progress in so-called flattening the curve, but we know that the virus still is among us, and we've seen a little bit of an uptick there in positive cases in the beach communities. And so this piece of legislation, frankly, is more important than ever as we approach the election season coming up this fall. As Representative Longhurst said, such a critically important constitutional right of every Delaware citizen, protected now by this vote by mail piece of legislation, enabling them, as you both said, to protect their own health and the health of their neighbors and exercise their right to vote. So it's a real privilege for me as governor to finish the process off by signing House Bill number 346 as amended by House Amendment number 5, sponsored by Representative Longhurst, the lead sponsor in the House, and Senator McBride in the Senate.
This is where we clap, Governor.
This is where we clap. We haven't, I think this is my first Zoom bill signing, so it's a new experience for all of us. And it is where we normally clap, and I would normally hand the bill to Representative Longhurst so that she could present for her good work in doing this. And we certainly appreciate both of you and your leadership in the House and the Senate, respectively, and for your leadership on this bill. I always want to be a member, an elected official that wants to maximize the number of people that exercise their right to vote, and this is a way that we can do that while protecting people's health at the same time. So thank you both. Have a great day and a wonderful 4th of July.
Thank you. You too, Governor.
All right, thank you.
All right.